The neon-drenched streets of New Singapore sprawled beneath Raven Nash's perch atop the Century Spire. Rain pelted her reinforced combat suit as she tracked her target through augmented binoculars. 3 weeks of hunting had led her to this moment, following a trail of destruction across 4 star systems. Target confirmed moving through Sector 7, the AI in her neural link reported. Caution advised. Subject displays enhanced strength and regenerative capabilities beyond standard parameters. Raven touched the scar running down her left cheek, a reminder of her last encounter with an augmented target. But this one was different. The Crimson Titan, they called her. A giant standing nearly 12 feet tall, with skin the color of dried blood and strength enough to tear through reinforced walls like paper. The bounty on the Titan's head would set Raven up for life, but something else drew her to this hunt. Every time she reviewed the footage of the giant's rampages, something tugged at the edges of her memory, like a half-remembered dream trying to surface. Movement below caught her attention. A massive figure in a hooded cloak moved through the shadows of the industrial district. Even hunched over, the Titan towered over the few late-night workers scurrying out of her path. Neural combat systems engaged, the AI announced as Raven fired her grappling line and swung down to street level. Her enhanced muscles absorbed the impact as she landed in the Titan's path, plasma blade humming to life. "That's far enough," Raven called out, voice steady despite the rain now running down her face. "You've got nowhere left to run." The giant stopped, hood still concealing her features. "Little hunter," came the response, voice deep and resonant. "You should not have followed me here. The bounty on your head says otherwise." Raven shifted into a combat stance. "We can do this the easy way, or dash." The Titan moved with impossible speed for something so large, closing the distance between them in a heartbeat. Raven barely managed to dodge the massive fist that cratered the street where she had stood. What followed was a deadly dance through the rain-slicked streets. Raven's enhanced reflexes and years of combat training kept her one step ahead of the giant's earth-shattering blows, while her plasma blade left scorching cuts across the Titan's armor. But something was wrong. The giant's attack seemed hesitant. Almost pulled. As if she was holding back. "Why do you pursue me, little hunter?" the Titan asked during a brief pause in their combat. "What drives you to chase shadows of the past?" "I'm just here for the bounty," Raven replied, though uncertainty crept into her voice. Those words, why did they seem familiar? "Are you?" The giant's hood fell back, revealing features that stopped Raven cold. The Titan's face was a twisted mirror of her own, the same high cheekbones, the same determined set of the jaw. But where Raven's skin was pale, the giant's was crimson. Where Raven's eyes were green, the Titan's blazed like molten gold. Memory fragments exploded through Raven's mind, a research facility in flames. A woman's desperate voice. A child screaming as she was torn from her mother's arms. The same words, echoing, "Chase the shadows of your past, my little one. Find me." What are you?" Raven stumbled back, plasma blade wavering. "You know who I am, Raven." The Titan's voice softened, filled with an ancient pain. "You've always known. That's why you couldn't stop hunting me." Before Raven could respond, warning sirens blared throughout the district. Corporate security. The underground bunker hummed with ancient machinery as Raven followed the Titan through winding corridors. Her combat systems remained active, ready for any sign of betrayal, but her mind raced with questions she couldn't silence. They had barely escaped the corporate security forces, disappearing into the forgotten infrastructure beneath New Singapore. "Your name," Raven said, breaking the tense silence. "What is it?" The giant paused, massive shoulders tensing. "Once, they called me Dr. Victoria Nash. Now, most know me only as the Crimson Titan. But you?" She turned, golden eyes softening. "You used to call me Mother." Another memory flash hit Raven like a physical blow, a laboratory painted in warm colors, toys scattered across the floor. A woman with auburn hair, not yet crimson, reading her stories about the stars. The scent of cinnamon and antiseptic. "That's impossible," Raven growled, fighting the surge of emotions. "I grew up in the corporate ward for displaced children. I never had a mother. Those memories were implanted." Victoria's voice carried decades of pain. "The Prometheus Corporation took you from me when their experiments went wrong. When I became this." She gestured to her massive frame. They emerged into what appeared to be an abandoned research station. Holographic displays flickered to life at their approach, revealing medical data and genetic sequences. Victoria moved to a central console, her massive fingers surprisingly delicate on the controls. 25 years ago, I led Project Ascension," she explained. "We were trying to create the next step in human evolution, beings capable of surviving the harshest alien environments. The corporation wanted super soldiers. I wanted to ensure humanity's survival among the stars." Images appeared in the air between them, genetic structures twisting, mutating, evolving. A younger Victoria Nash smiled from an ID photo, her credentials marking her as the project's director. "The experiments were successful beyond our expectations," Victoria continued. "But the corporation grew impatient. They began testing on unwilling subjects, including their own scientists. When I discovered the truth and tried to shut it down." She trailed off, pain etching deep lines around her golden eyes. "They used the serum on you," Raven finished, the pieces falling into place. "Yes. But the transformation wasn't instant. I had time to hide you, to place you somewhere safe. Or so I thought." Victoria's massive fist clenched. "They found you anyway. Erased your memories. Turned you into their hunter." Raven's hand went to her neural implant, standard issue for all corporate ward graduates. How many of her memories were real? How many were programmed? A distant explosion rocked the facility, sending dust cascading from the ceiling. Victoria straightened, instantly alert. "They've found us. Prometheus never stops hunting their lost experiments. Why should I believe any of this?" Raven demanded, even as more memories tried to surface. This could all be some elaborate trap. Victoria reached into a compartment of her armor and withdrew a small, worn object. Raven's breath caught. It was a stuffed animal, a little blue elephant missing one ear. "You called him Mr. Trunks," Victoria said softly. "You wouldn't sleep without him. The night I hid you away, you insisted on leaving him behind to protect me." Raven's hands trembled as she took the toy. The fabric was aged, but she knew every stitch, every patch. This was real. This was hers. Another explosion, closer this time. Warning sirens blared through the facility. "We need to move," Victoria urged. "But first, you have to choose. Come with me, learn the truth about who you are, or return to the corporation. I won't stop you either way." She held out her massive hand. "But know that if you go back, they'll never stop using you as their weapon." The facility shook again. Through her neural link, Raven could detect multiple tactical teams converging on their location. Elite corporate soldiers, armed with enough firepower to level a small city. She looked at the stuffed elephant in her hands, then at the giant who claimed to be her mother. The woman she had been hunting. The truth she had been running from. In the distance, boots thundered on metal floors. Time had run out. Raven had to choose, and her choice would reshape not only her future but her understanding of everything she thought she knew about herself. Raven's decision came in a moment of clarity. She deactivated her neural link to the corporate network, severing her connection to the only life she'd known. "Show me everything," she told Victoria. "Show me what they tried to make us forget." They escaped through maintenance tunnels as corporate forces breached the facility, Victoria's massive form shielding Raven from falling debris. The tunnels led them deeper into New Singapore's forgotten underground, to a hidden sanctuary Victoria called the Haven. The Haven was a massive cavern converted into a makeshift refuge. To Raven's surprise, they weren't alone. Dozens of modified humans occupied the space, some with metallic skin, others with multiple limbs or bioluminescent features. All of them were Prometheus Corporation's cast-off experiments. "Welcome to the Resistance," Victoria said, ducking her head to enter a reinforced chamber that served as their command center. "Everyone here has a story similar to ours. Scientists, soldiers, even corporate executives, all transformed and discarded when they learned too much." A tall woman with iridescent scales covering half her face approached them. "So, you finally found her." Her voice was melodic, almost hypnotic. "I'm Niara," she told Raven. "I was your mother's research partner before everything." Holographic displays illuminated the chamber, showing Project Ascension's true scope. Hundreds of test subjects. Genetic modifications beyond anything publicly known. And behind it all, a darker purpose. The corporation wasn't just creating super soldiers, Niara explained, bringing up classified files. They were preparing for something. Something they found in deep space. The hologram shifted to show a massive crystalline structure floating in the void. "The Architect's Cradle," Victoria said. "An alien artifact discovered beyond the Kuiper Belt." Inside, they found evidence of genetic engineering far beyond human understanding. "Prometheus didn't want to advance humanity," Niara continued. "They wanted to control the evolution of our entire species. Create their own version of what humanity should become." Raven watched the data scroll past, her enhanced mind processing the implications. The bounties, she realized. All those modified humans I was sent to capture. They weren't criminals. They were loose ends, Victoria confirmed. Evidence of Prometheus's illegal experiments. Every time someone manifested unexpected modifications or started asking questions, they sent hunters like you to clean up their mess. Another figure emerged from the shadows, a man with crystalline growths protruding from his shoulders. "Tell her about the failsafe," he said grimly. Victoria's golden eyes darkened. "The neural implants all corporate ward graduates receive, they're not just for communications and combat enhancement. They're control devices. If any hunter gets too close to the truth, Prometheus can trigger a complete neural shutdown." Raven's hand went to her disabled implant, feeling its dead weight against her skull. "How many?" she asked. "How many hunters have they killed to keep this secret?" "Too many," Niara answered softly. "You're the first to make it this far." The crystalline man, who introduced himself as Dominic, brought up more classified files. "We've been gathering evidence for years, building a case against Prometheus. But we need something concrete, something they can't bury or deny." "The Genesis Protocol," Victoria said. "The original genetic templates from the Architect's Cradle. Prometheus keeps them in their deepest vault, beneath their headquarters in New Shanghai. With those files, we could prove everything. And expose what they're really planning," Niara added. "The forced evolution of humanity, controlled by a corporate board of directors." Raven studied the facility schematics, her tactical mind already forming plans. "You want to break into the most secure corporate facility in the solar system?" "No," Victoria smiled, an expression that transformed her fearsome features into something almost familiar. "We want you to break in. A former hunter would know their security protocols, their blind spots. And with your neural link disabled, they can't track or control you." "But first," Dominic interjected, "we need to remove that implant. As long as it's in your head, you're at risk. And there's something else you should know." He glanced at Victoria, who nodded gravely. "The implant doesn't just control," Victoria explained. It suppresses. Your genetic modifications were inherited from me, Raven. Once that device is out, you'll begin to change. To become what you were always meant to be. Raven looked at her hands, imagining them larger, stronger, her skin turning crimson like her mother's. The truth of her identity, her purpose, her very DNA, everything was about to change. When do we start? She asked, her voice steady despite the fear and anticipation coursing through her. Victoria's smile widened, fierce and proud. Now. Time to show Prometheus what happens when you try to cage a force of nature. The surgical chamber in the haven thrummed with tension as Niara prepared to remove Raven's neural implant. Victoria's massive form hovered nearby, golden eyes fixed on her daughter with a mixture of hope and fear. The procedure will trigger your dormant genetics, Niara explained, her scaled hands arranging holographic surgical interfaces. The transformation, it won't be easy. Nothing worth doing ever is, Raven replied, strapping herself onto the reinforced medical bed. She'd seen the footage of her mother's transformation. She knew what was coming. The surgery itself was quick, Niara's modified hands moving with inhuman precision to extract the corporate hardware from Raven's brain. But the aftermath, that was when the real challenge began. The first wave of pain hit like a supernova, every cell in Raven's body screaming as her suppressed genetics awakened. Her spine arched off the bed, restraints creaking under sudden inhuman strength. Through the haze of agony, she felt her mother's massive hand engulf her own. Fight through it, Victoria's voice reached her. Your body remembers who you really are. Let it happen. Hours blurred together as Raven's form reshaped itself. Bones lengthened and reinforced themselves with organic steel. Muscles densified and multiplied. Her skin darkened to deep crimson, hardening into an organic armor that could withstand heavy weapons fire. But the physical changes weren't the worst part. As the implant's influence faded, blocked memories crashed through her mind like a tidal wave, her childhood in the lab, playing among test tubes and holographic displays. The love in her mother's eyes before the transformation. The terror as corporate soldiers tore them apart. When the process finally ended, Raven stood 9 feet tall, her body rippling with power she'd never imagined. She flexed her crimson fingers, marveling at the strength flowing through them. The size difference. She began, looking at her mother. You're younger, Victoria explained. Your transformation was controlled, unlike mine. You'll be stronger, faster, more stable. Pride and sadness mingled in her voice. Dominic entered the chamber, his crystalline growths glowing softly. Prometheus security feeds are showing increased activity at the Shanghai facility. They're moving something in the deep vaults. If we're going to strike, it needs to be soon. They gathered in the command center, where Niara had assembled detailed holograms of the Prometheus headquarters. The plan was audacious. Raven would use her knowledge of corporate security systems to infiltrate the facility while Victoria and the others launched a diversionary attack on the surface. The Genesis protocol files will be in the quantum vault, Raven said, her new voice deeper but still recognizably her own. Even with my enhanced strength, I'll need help cracking it. Already handled, Dominic smiled, extending his crystalline arm. A section of growth detached, revealing itself as an advanced hacking module. Some of us were designed for more than just looking pretty. As they made final preparations, Victoria pulled Raven aside. There's something else you should know, she said quietly. The files we're after, they're not just evidence. They're a key. A key to what? The architect's cradle isn't just an artifact. It's a map. A guide to humanity's next evolutionary step. Prometheus wanted to control that evolution, but the cradle. Victoria's eyes gleamed. It was meant for all of us. A gift from whoever came before. Raven absorbed this, understanding dawning. This isn't just about exposing Prometheus. You want to finish what you started, help humanity evolve, but on our own terms. Evolution without control. Growth without corporate oversight. The future we were meant to have. Victoria placed her massive hand on Raven's shoulder. But first, we have to survive tomorrow. The haven buzzed with activity as the resistance prepared for battle. Modified humans checked weapons, synchronized combat systems, and said quiet goodbyes. Everyone knew some wouldn't return. In her new quarters, Raven examined her reflection in a reinforced mirror. Her crimson skin gleamed like polished metal, her eyes now burning with the same golden fire as her mother's. She was no longer the hunter Prometheus had created. She was something new. Something true. Time to move, Dominic called from the doorway. Transport's ready. Raven took one last look at her reflection. Tomorrow, they would either change the course of human evolution or die trying. Either way, she was finally who she was meant to be. And Prometheus would learn what it meant to face the full power of both mother and daughter. The ancestral core's crystalline surface pulsed with ancient power as Queen Vexera stared at the assembled witnesses beyond the chamber walls. Trading partners, potential allies, and even a few former enemies, all gathered to witness this pivotal moment in Selenarian history. Her silver scales shifted through a complex pattern of emotions before settling into a deep, resigned hue. "You think this changes anything?" she challenged, but the desperate edge in her voice betrayed her uncertainty. "Our strength comes from the hunt, from proving ourselves superior." "No," Regina stepped forward, keeping one hand on the ancestral core. "Your strength comes from your ability to adapt, to evolve. Every species in those ships out there has faced the same choice: hold on to traditions that no longer serve them, or grow into something greater." Caden moved to stand beside Regina, his dark blue scales now shimmering with an inner confidence that reminded everyone of his father. "The hunt taught us skill, taught us courage, but it also taught us to see everyone else as prey. Is that truly the legacy we want to leave for future generations?" The chamber was silent, every warrior, loyal and reformed alike, watching as their civilization balanced on the edge of transformation. The Queen's energy blades hummed with deadly potential, but she hadn't struck. "Not yet." "Your brother," Regina said softly, understanding flowing through her connection with the ancestral core, "he didn't just want to end the hunting tradition. He wanted to transform it, didn't he? Turn it from a proof of dominance into a demonstration of wisdom." Queen Vexera's scales rippled with surprise. "How could you know that?" "Because the ancestral core shows me," Regina replied. "It doesn't just control this facility, it records everything. Including the private conversations between a king and his sister, before fear turned tradition into tyranny." The Queen's secondary arms lowered slightly, the first sign of wavering. "He was going to destroy everything we are." "No, my queen," Caden stepped closer to his aunt. "He was trying to show us everything we could become. The hunt helped us survive when we were a young species, but we're not just survivors anymore. We can be leaders, teachers, allies." Through her connection to the ancestral core, Regina felt the shift before she saw it, the ancient crystal technology responding to the change in the chamber's emotional resonance. The walls began to glow with images from Selenarian history, the first hunts born of necessity, the gradual evolution into tradition, and finally, the moment when tradition became chains rather than wings. "Your people have so much to offer the galaxy," Regina addressed not just the Queen, but all the assembled warriors. "Your understanding of crystal technology, your martial prowess, your ability to adapt and survive. But strength doesn't always mean standing alone." Queen Vexera looked at the watching ships again, then at her assembled warriors, not just hunters now, but potential diplomats, teachers, and leaders. Her scales shifted through complex patterns of emotion before settling into a new configuration, one that Regina hadn't seen before. "My brother," she said quietly, his last words to me were, "Change isn't death, sister. Resistance to change is." I didn't understand then. Perhaps I was the one who needed to learn. The Queen's energy blades powered down. The sound seemed to echo through the chamber, marking the end of one era and the beginning of another. She turned to face her nephew, all four arms moving in a formal gesture that made the reformed warriors gasp. Prince Caden, her voice carried the weight of official proclamation, you have proven yourself not just as a warrior, but as a leader. You saw what I could not, that the greatest strength lies not in dominating others, but in having the courage to change ourselves. The ancestral core pulsed with approval, its crystal surface refracting light in new patterns. Regina felt it responding to the shift in Selenarian consciousness, adapting just as the species itself was adapting. The hunt will not end, Caden declared, understanding his role in this historic moment. But it will change. No more live prey, no more proving dominance. Instead, we will hunt for knowledge, for understanding, for ways to make the galaxy better for all species. Regina began to step back, feeling her part in this drama coming to an end, but Queen Vexera's voice stopped her. Stay, human, the Queen's tone had changed, carrying new harmonics of respect. You have shown us that sometimes the greatest wisdom comes from those we once saw only as prey. We would learn from you, as equals. The gathered warriors, both reformed and loyal, raised their energy blades in salute. Beyond the chamber walls, the watching ships began signaling their approval in various alien ways. The ancestral core hummed with the resonance of a civilization choosing to evolve. Caden turned to Regina, his scales showing patterns of gratitude and something more, hope for the future. My father believed that true strength comes from building bridges. Today, we begin building those bridges, not just between ourselves and the galaxy, but between who we were and who we can become. As the artificial dawn began to rise over the proving grounds, Regina looked at the assembled warriors, no longer divided into hunters and prey, but united in purpose. The hunt had been transformed, and with it, an entire civilization had chosen to step into a new era. The Queen's final words echoed through the chamber, marking the official end of the old ways. Let it be recorded in the ancestral core, today, we prove ourselves not through dominance, but through wisdom. The hunt continues, but now we hunt for a better future, together. And in the light of that new dawn, hunters and prey, reformers and traditionalists, humans and Selenarians stood together, ready to forge a new path among the stars. The end.